The observation deck of the Interstellar Research Station horizon stretched before Dr. Elena Rodriguez like a canvas of infinite possibilities. Outside the quantum-reinforced windows, the swirling nebula of the Andromeda frontier painted itself in hues of deep purple and electric blue. Elena's fingers danced across the holographic interface, processing data that most alien researchers would have dismissed as impossible. Another anomaly, she muttered to herself, her Puerto Rican heritage evident in the melodic undertone of her voice. The research station, a joint international effort that represented humanity's most ambitious scientific endeavor, hummed with quiet determination. Dr. Krelax, a senior researcher from the Viridian Confederacy, approached with his characteristic blend of scientific curiosity and barely concealed condescension. His translucent exoskeleton reflected the station's ambient lighting, creating a prismatic effect that would have been beautiful if not for the perpetual look of academic superiority. Dr. Rodriguez, he clicked, his mandibles moving in what passed for a smile among his species, your latest research proposal has been reviewed by the Galactic Scientific Council. Elena knew what was coming. Another rejection. Another dismissal of human potential. And, she prompted, not bothering to hide the edge in her voice. The Council finds your hypothesis regarding quantum-adaptive biomolecular restructuring to be speculative at best. Krelax's translator rendered his complex language into crisp English. Humans continue to demonstrate a troubling tendency to propose theories without sufficient empirical foundation. The irony was not lost on Elena. Humans, who had gone from wooden ships to interstellar travel in mere centuries, were still treated like scientific novices by species who had been stagnant for millennia. Our data suggests, she began, but Krelax was already waving his primary manipulative appendage, a universal gesture of dismissal that transcended species. Data can be interpreted many ways, Dr. Rodriguez. The Council requires more than passionate interpretation. What Krelax didn't know, what no one on the station knew, was that Elena had already run simulations that would revolutionize xenobiological research. Her work could potentially solve medical challenges that had plagued multiple civilizations for generations. The station's central communication hub flickered. An incoming transmission from Earth caught Elena's attention. Her colleague, Dr. Marcus Bennett, looked unusually excited. Elena, you're not going to believe this, his holographic image crackled. The deep space probe we launched last year. It just transmitted data that completely contradicts everything the Galactic Cartography Institute has claimed about stellar formation in the outer quadrants. Krelax's exoskeleton seemed to tighten. Humans and their persistent ability to challenge established knowledge were becoming increasingly problematic for traditional scientific hierarchies. Little did they know that this moment, this seemingly mundane exchange on a remote research station, would become a turning point in humanity's galactic narrative. Elena smiled. Not a triumphant smile, but a knowing one. The universe was vast, complex, and full of mysteries. And humans, for all their perceived limitations, had an uncanny ability to see beyond the boundaries that others took for granted. Prepare the analysis protocols, she told Marcus, her voice steady. We're about to challenge some very old assumptions. As the nebula continued its eternal dance outside the station's windows, the quiet revolution of human potential began its subtle, inexorable march. The research facility's sterile white corridors seemed to pulse with an electric anticipation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a holographic projection that shimmered with impossible complexity, representing her groundbreaking quantum-adaptive biomolecular restructuring technology. Dr. Marcus Bennett leaned against the laboratory's reinforced wall, his eyes wide with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. They have no idea what we've discovered, he whispered, watching the intricate molecular patterns dance and reconfigure themselves. The technology was revolutionary. Where traditional medical treatments focused on treating symptoms, Elena's research promised something far more radical, an adaptive healing matrix that could literally rewrite cellular structures in real time. It wasn't just a medical breakthrough, it was a fundamental reimagining of biological intervention. The Galactic Medical Consortium will lose their collective minds, Elena murmured, her fingers tracing the holographic projections. Each molecular simulation represented years of painstaking research, countless rejected proposals, and an unwavering belief in human potential. Unbeknownst to the researchers, their discovery was about to trigger a cascade of events that would reshape interstellar politics. The communication array chirped. An encrypted transmission from the Galactic Diplomatic Corps flickered to life. Ambassador Lyra Calden, a veteran diplomat from the Nexus Confederation, appeared. Her translucent skin shifted colors, a physiological response to emotional states that humans had never fully understood. Dr. Rodriguez, Calden's voice carried a tone of careful diplomacy. The consortium has been made aware of your recent research developments. Elena's heart raced. Recognition? Validation? Or another dismissal? Your work has complicated certain long-standing medical protocols, Calden continued. The diplomat's skin rippled with shades of deep indigo and electric blue, uncertainty and intrigue. What neither Elena nor Marcus realized was that their research threatened entire medical industries. Established alien civilizations had built massive healthcare infrastructures around complex, prolonged treatment protocols. A technology that could potentially heal instantaneously would disrupt entire economic ecosystems. Dr. Krell-Ax, who had been monitoring the communication, stepped forward. His exoskeleton vibrated with a frequency that translated to barely contained agitation. This research cannot be allowed to proceed, he stated, his translator rendering the words with clinical precision. The implications are too significant. Too dangerous. Marcus stepped forward, his academic passion rising. Dangerous? It's a medical breakthrough that could save millions of lives across multiple species. Krell-Ax's response was immediate. Exactly. And that makes it political. The station's quantum communication network began to buzz with encrypted transmissions. Diplomatic channels flickered with activity. What had started as a scientific research project was quickly becoming an international, an interstellar, incident. Elena understood the deeper implications. This wasn't just about medical technology. This was about power. About who controlled the narrative of scientific progress. We need to be strategic, she told Marcus quietly. They'll try to suppress this research. Little did they know, forces were already in motion. The Galactic Medical Consortium was preparing its response. Political machinations were being set into place that would challenge humanity's position in the interstellar community. As the holographic projections continued their mesmerizing dance, Elena Rodriguez represented something far more than a researcher. She was a harbinger of a fundamental shift in how the galaxy perceived human potential. The quantum whispers were about to become a roar. Outside the research station, distant star systems continued their eternal dance, unaware that a quiet revolution was brewing, one that would challenge everything they thought they knew about medical science, political power, and the true potential of a species often deemed insignificant. The Nexus cluster burned with an intensity that challenged even the most advanced sensor arrays. What had begun as a routine stellar monitoring mission had rapidly escalated into a potential galactic catastrophe. A cascading quantum anomaly threatened to destabilize multiple star systems, creating a chain reaction that could obliterate entire civilizations. The Galactic Emergency Response Team, comprised of the most advanced species in the known universe, stood paralyzed. Their most sophisticated quantum stabilization technologies had failed. Massive evacuation efforts were collapsing. Hope was rapidly diminishing. Dr. Elena Rodriguez and her team received the first transmission during a routine research review. The data streams were chaotic, fragmented, but to Elena's trained eye, they revealed a pattern that others had missed. Marcus, she called out, her voice cutting through the laboratory's ambient noise, look at the quantum resonance signatures. Dr. Marcus Bennett approached, his analytical mind already racing. The standard stabilization models showed complete failure. But Elena's quantum adaptive research suggested something radical, a method of intervention that defied conventional scientific understanding. "We can stop this," Elena whispered, more to herself than to Marcus. The Galactic Command's primary communication channel crackled to life. Admiral Zara Klen of the Unified Stellar Defense Force looked haggard. Her multispectral eyes, capable of perceiving wavelengths far beyond human vision, seemed dim with defeat. "We are preparing final evacuation protocols," she announced. The subtext was clear: they were about to abandon millions to cosmic destruction. Elena made a decision that would change everything. "No," she responded, her transmission cutting through official channels. "We have a solution." The silence that followed was deafening. Dr. Krellax, who had been monitoring the communication, erupted. "Impossible. Humans cannot possibly." But Elena was already in motion. Her team began implementing a series of quantum recalibration protocols derived from their biomolecular restructuring research. It was a desperate, unprecedented approach, using medical research technology to stabilize stellar systems. The quantum whispers became a symphony of mathematical precision. Complex algorithms, developed through years of marginalized research, began to interact with the stellar anomaly. Where traditional methods saw chaos, Elena's team saw an intricate, solvable problem. Hours passed. The Galactic Emergency Response Team watched in stunned silence as human researchers seemingly performed the impossible. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the quantum cascade began to stabilize. Star systems that moments ago were on the brink of total destruction began to return to equilibrium. The impossible was happening, and humans were at the center of it. Admiral Klen's communication channel reopened. "Explain," she demanded, a mixture of disbelief and grudging respect in her voice. Elena's response was simple. "We saw a different solution. Where others saw an unsolvable problem, we saw a complex system waiting to be understood." The implications were profound. Humanity had just demonstrated a level of scientific and adaptive capability that challenged everything the galactic community believed about their species. As the last quantum fluctuation settled, a new narrative was emerging. Humans were no longer just another emerging species. They were problem solvers. Innovators. Guardians. In research facilities and diplomatic chambers across multiple star systems, a fundamental question began to take root: what else might humans be capable of? The silent intervention had spoken volumes. The aftermath of the stellar crisis reverberated through galactic diplomatic channels like a persistent quantum echo. What had begun as a routine scientific intervention had transformed into something far more significant, a fundamental challenge to established perceptions about humanity. The Galactic Diplomatic Consortium convened an emergency session aboard the Nexus Prime Station, a massive orbital complex that represented the pinnacle of interstellar cooperation. Representatives from over 200 different species gathered, their collective tension palpable. Dr. Elena Rodriguez found herself at the center of a storm she had never anticipated. Her research team had been summoned not as observers, but as primary witnesses to what many were calling the human intervention incident. Ambassador Lyra Calden opened the proceedings, her translucent skin shifting through a spectrum of colors that betrayed the complexity of the political moment. "We are here," she began, "to understand how a species previously considered technologically nascent managed to solve a quantum crisis that defeated the most advanced civilizations in the known universe." The chamber fell silent. The diplomatic crucible. The Nexus Prime diplomatic station became a crucible of tension, with humanity's unexpected capabilities at its molten core. What had begun as a scientific hearing had transformed into a high-stakes political confrontation that would determine humanity's future in the galactic community. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of a holographic representation of the recent stellar intervention, her digital projection surrounded by representatives from hundreds of alien civilizations. The air itself seemed charged with a mixture of grudging respect and barely contained hostility. Ambassador Zara Klen, her multispectral eyes scanning the room, broke the tense silence. "The Unified Stellar Defense Force demands a complete breakdown of the quantum stabilization protocols used during the intervention. Elena's response was measured. Our methods are not a simple set of protocols to be handed over like a technical manual. They represent a fundamental approach to problem solving. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of translated languages. Holographic translators struggled to capture the nuanced diplomatic exchanges that followed. Krell Axe, representing the Viridian Scientific Council, stepped forward. His exoskeleton vibrated with a frequency that suggested deep agitation. Your unilateral intervention has created significant diplomatic complications. The established crisis response protocols were completely bypassed. Dr. Marcus Bennett, standing beside Elena, couldn't resist a subtle retort. The established protocols were failing. Trillions of lives were at stake. The diplomatic tension was a complex dance of power, perception, and unprecedented challenge. Humanity had done more than solve a scientific problem, they had exposed the fundamental weaknesses in the galactic community's existing systems. A representative from the Quantum Diplomatic Corps projected a series of complex data streams. Our analysis shows that your intervention utilized a completely novel approach to quantum system management. This is unprecedented and potentially destabilizing. Elena understood the deeper implications. This wasn't just about a single stellar crisis. This was about challenging the entire existing paradigm of interstellar cooperation and problem solving. We're not seeking to destabilize, she explained, her voice cutting through the diplomatic noise. We're offering a different perspective. Our approach is about collaborative solution finding, not territorial control. The chamber fell silent. The holographic displays continued their intricate dance of data and possibility. Ambassador Lyra Calden, her translucent skin shifting through a spectrum of diplomatic colors, stepped forward. The Nexus Confederation wishes to understand the philosophical underpinnings of your intervention. This is more than a technological achievement. This is a fundamental reimagining of problem solving. Behind the diplomatic facade, entire political structures were being challenged. Humanity had demonstrated an ability to think beyond established paradigms, a capability that both terrified and fascinated the galactic community. Dr. Marcus Bennett leaned close to Elena. They're trying to categorize us, he whispered. To fit us into their existing understanding of technological development. But humanity refused to be categorized. The hearing continued, a complex ballet of diplomatic maneuvering and scientific revelation. Each moment exposed another layer of human potential, an adaptability and creative problem-solving that defied traditional understanding. Outside the diplomatic chamber, the vast starscape continued its eternal dance. Distant nebulae swirled, silent witnesses to a moment that would reshape interstellar dynamics. Humanity had not just solved a crisis. They had challenged an entire system of understanding. And the galaxy was beginning to realize that everything was about to change.